Hey guys, welcome to CTA Live. In case we haven't met, my name is Dave Curley, and this is your first time. I'm thrilled that you're here. I'm so glad you're here. Hello to Chris Oshinsky. She is a dear friend and a client. She's actually one of my first remote coaching clients, which is interesting because she's actually local. She's about 20 miles away, so instead of going out there, I was able to coach and get her started with OBS and get their whole live streaming set up and all that done over the phone and with some chats and things like that, which is really cool. That's really encouraging to know that even though I may not be able to be there completely physically, that together I can guide somebody to get all these things set up, and I'm really excited about that. So, and Chris has been knocking it out. Their church, she's been training her team. She's been doing getting volunteers and some of the youth and all this, and has even been able to go away on vacation for a couple of weeks and know and feel secure that the stream is going on, and that's just phenomenal. She even shared with me once a video of an elderly couple in their church that has been the wife has been very sick and has had to basically be homebound for quite a while. And so they gave her an iPad, and she's able to worship live on Sunday and then catch up during the week and stuff. And that's cool. I'm just really excited about that. So hi to you guys. Tommy says that he's going to be starting with OBS and a standard definition camera. Fantastic. See, that's the thing. Getting started with live streaming, getting started with what you have. I mean, literally what you have. He's got a standard definition camera, and I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that standard definition camera has a FireWire output on it. So Tommy says he's going to be doing using a standard definition camera and is going to be using OBS. Let's see what he said. Sony EVI D70 PTZ with a composite output. That's good. He got the D70 off eBay for $75. Okay, so he got a $75 pan tilt zoom that he's going to use. He's got an adapter that's going to be feeding into OBS, and he's going to get started. And then as it grows, he's going to be upgrading and adding other cameras and doing whatever else and growing it as they're able to. So Tommy, good for you guys. I'm really proud, and I want you to take pictures. I want to see what you're doing. I want to see some examples of the stream, all that sort of stuff. I'm really proud of you, buddy. So today we're going to be talking about small groups and Facebook Watch. And when I say small groups, I'm talking more about Facebook groups, okay? So I was reading an article, came across an article at pastors.com, and they were talking about a Wired article, which had an interview with Mark Zuckerberg. And Zuckerberg, he started Facebook. He started Facebook back in the day to meet girls. And as it grew, he wanted to grow it into a place where people could connect and basically could make the world a little smaller because people all over the globe could connect with each other around common interests, topics, themes, whatever, that sort of thing. And one of the quotes in there says, Mark has repeatedly said he believes his platform, Facebook, brings people together, despite the sea of evidence that in its stated mission to connect the world, Facebook may be helping to tear it apart. Now, I thought that was an interesting comment there. He wants to bring people together, but you and I, if we look at our Facebook feed right now, what is happening on there? What has been happening on there for the last year and a half, if not longer? It's become an echo chamber, right? If you haven't heard, Facebook, Google, all these companies, they rely heavily on what they call an algorithm. Basically, a program, a formula that basically, in Facebook's case, what it does is it takes a look at what you are doing on Facebook, what you're looking at, what you are liking, what you are loving, what you are, going, all the little emoticons that you can put, how much you're commenting, what videos you're watching, what memes you're looking at, who your friends are, all these stuff, where you live, where in the area you live you are, all this kind of stuff. It takes all these things into account and then generates a news feed for you, okay? So think about it for just a sec. How many people have you friended over the last, however many years you've been on Facebook. I've friended hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, and I have thousands that have friended me. Great example. I've been friends on Facebook with my friend Jacqueline Smith, who is somebody that I used to hang out with all the time when we were living in Austin and Round Rock area. We've been friends since 1996, let's say 1997, something like that. And we've been friends on Facebook since we both got on. However, I never see anything from her. Now, she's active on Facebook, very active, but I never see anything in my newsfeed from Jacqueline unless it's maybe a comment on a picture I put up or something. But like the stuff that she posts, I don't see any of that. And the reason I don't see any of that is because the times that she has done it and it has shown up, I haven't really interacted with it. I may go, oh, that's funny, and then move on. I didn't hit like or I didn't leave a comment. And if I don't do that enough, then she drops off my radar. Okay, or Facebook says, you know what, you're really not interested in what this person has to share. And I'm interested in what she has to share, but because I haven't interacted with it, it kind of, they assume I'm not interested, and it goes away. They may reintroduce her to me at some point to see if I start being interested in her, and they'll bring other people that or topics or pages or whatever that I've liked, and bring them in and see if I interact. And then if I don't interact with them, they may push them back off for a while and keep the things that are interacting. What that does is gives me a really customized experience. It gives you a really customized experience on Facebook, which is what you want. The things you're interested in and the things that you are most interacting with, the brands or the people or the groups or what have you. You want to interact with those things because you went out and said, hey, I like this, so show me more of this. If you don't, then those things fall off, right? What ends up happening as a result of this customized experience that we all want is that it becomes an echo chamber, right? So over the last year and a half, 2 years, the more we have commented and interacted with people on certain topics, political topics, socioeconomic topics, cultural topics, things like that. If my buddy Cody says something, makes a statement or supports a candidate or does something like that I like, and I like that, and the more he talks about that person or that topic, and the more I interact with him on that, the more those things will show up from my other friends. My friend Morgan, if he starts talking, let's say that Cody is a huge President Trump supporter. Okay. If Morgan is also a President Trump supporter, and I'm interacting with Cody on things, the articles and things like that he's sharing that have to deal with President Trump, over time, because I'm friends with Morgan, they'll say, hey, you might want to hear what Morgan has to say about this. And then you might want to hear what someone else has to say about this. You might want to hear what your dad has to say about this, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then all I'm getting is like pro President Trump things because that's all they're doing and that's all I'm commenting on. And I don't get any of the negative things, or if I'm negative about President Trump and I'm only commenting on things that are negative, then I'm getting negative. If I'm only commenting on Bible verses that are on images that my friends are putting up, then I will be seeing more and more and more of those types of things. Whereas I may also like random quotes, but because I don't interact with those random quotes, then I will see less and less. It becomes an echo chamber, okay? Now, that can bring us together, that can divide us. What Zuckerberg wants to do is bring us together around these common topics and all that in order to build community or to further the relationships that we have in the real life online. Does that make sense? Check out this quote here. And I found this really interesting. It's kind of long. This is from the Wired article. I'm going to read this. After spending a decade portraying Facebook as a service for connecting friends and family, Zuckerberg's grand vision is now to build technology that creates far bigger and far more complex communities. Humanity has always pushed to come together in greater numbers to accomplish better things and improve our lives individually in ways that we couldn't in smaller groups. If your newsfeed now feels like a tiny town, then Zuckerberg seems to want to build cities, or at least churches. Now that caught my eye. We continue. In our conversation, he says his model for an online community might look something like Saddleback. the Evangelical Southern California megachurch led by Pastor Rick Warren. It's a surprising example from a man who seems to be steeped in the liberal pluralism of Silicon Valley, but the key for Zuckerberg is that Warren built a community in which tens of thousands of people gather under a capable leader's guidance, but also divide themselves into smaller groups by interest, affinity, and aspirations. In Zuckerberg's new vision for Facebook, leaders in the mold of Warren will have the tools to guide and shape the more complex communities they're trying to create. At the same time, the smaller groups within these communities will provide places to connect in more intimate ways while also feeding the larger whole. Just like becoming friends with people on Facebook can strengthen real-world relationships, there's no reason to believe that building communities on Facebook and the internet can't also strengthen real-world communities. They're talking about how Zuckerberg is using the church model that a lot of churches are using. Rick Warren being one of the large, humongous examples. And when you take a look at what they're doing, they're not only doing small groups and things like that inside the physical church, but they're also doing smaller churches, all around the place. That they're feeding digitally and growing digitally that are being led from the church, but being shepherded individually in smaller groups, and then in groups inside those groups and stuff. And that's something that Facebook wants to be able to do as well. So I started thinking about that, about using how we could use groups on Facebook. You guys know about Facebook groups, right? On Facebook, you have your profile, and then you can have a page, and your page can be, defined as a public figure page. Like, I've got a public figure page. I know I'm not a public figure, but I guess I am. Okay. It's called The Dave Curley. So Facebook.com/The Dave Curley. That's my public figure page. And I don't interact a whole lot on there. But I do have that. But then I've got a business page, which is the Church Training Academy. So Facebook.com/Church Training Academy. And that's where CTA stuff is. And then I share that. But then I've also got groups. So there's groups that I am a member of. There's a church media group that I'm a part of. There's a group for like church technology and like swapping and trading and buying and selling church tech, right? There's a group that I created called CTA Insiders, and it's a private group, so you have to ask to be joined. We've got a few members in there, and that that group is actually designed to be a companion to your membership with Church Training Academy. So I started thinking about Facebook groups and how they should be, in my opinion, or how they can be applied to a church setting. I was thinking you could have private groups for the people in a Bible study or a Sunday school class or a home group. And then in those, you could continue the discussion from the previous study, and you can also do like Q&As and stuff like that throughout the week. So, your church should, if it doesn't already, should already have a Facebook page. On that Facebook page, if your pastor is engaging, or if your staff is engaging, and you're doing things like you're live streaming the service, and then you're posting the recording of the service, like say just maybe not the entire service, but maybe just the video podcast version of just like the sermon, but then you edit that out and you post that as its own video on there with a link to the church's website where it's embedded and where the pastor's notes are, the outline and whatever else. But then you're also like taking those clips and these little 1 minute and 1.5 minute chunks out of there where there's these little nuggets of information, and you're posting those throughout the week. Okay, so that's the church in a macro sense, where anybody can see it. Anybody can come and like your church's page and can participate in the worship service or the Bible study or whatever through that, interact with other members of the church, whether they're members or not, but members of that page, people that have joined that page. But then how would you do that with a small group, with a Bible study group, the men's Bible study group, or the one of the ladies groups, or the youth group or something like that? You wouldn't necessarily want to do that as a page, because that is a public page and everybody can come and interact, and maybe sharing prayer requests, and I got my hernia operation, and you don't want all that stuff. That's stuff that you would be sharing inside the room during the Bible study or during the prayer requests and stuff, but you wouldn't want that broadcast. So you can use private Facebook groups, okay? And in those private groups, you could have a group for the men's Bible study. If you want to dive even a little deeper, let's say at your church there's a men's Bible study. At our church, there's a men's Bible study that meets every Monday night. So they're going to go through topics, okay? They may work through a book, they may work through some, official curriculum, or they may be going through the book Every Man's Battle. I mean, something like that, right? So they're going through that, and then they move on to the next topic, then move on to the next topic. And over time, it starts off with 5 guys, and it grows to 10, and grows to 15 guys or whatever. So you got this core little group of guys that meet on Monday night. Now, if you have a private group for that private group can go on indefinitely as that group goes on. When the leader changes, no big deal. It's the men's Bible study group, and they meet talking about a whole bunch of different topics. Same thing for the women's Bible study group. But then you've got these other Bible study groups that are topical. You've got, there's one that our church does a couple of times a year, which is the Dave Ramsey one, the Complete Money Makeover, whatever it's called. Yeah. What is it called? Something University. Anyway, Financial Peace University. That's what it is. So let's say you have that twice a year. So that group is going to have people that may join and stay for a while and then leave, or may grow over time, but it's just centered on that one thing. But then you may have a group that every couple of years they go through this one, like a ladies group goes through this one Beth Moore study every 2 or 3 years. So that group's going to be active for a while, and then not really going to be active. And then it's going to be active again in 6, 8, 10 months, whatever. And then it'll kind of go quiet for a while that thing. So they're active while that topic or while that particular thing is being handled. But what's cool about these private groups is they are private. So you have to ask to be joined, or you have to be set up by the administrator, and then you can't share stuff out of there. So if I share something in my group, it's interesting. If I talk about, or if I try to tag somebody who's not in the group, they're not going to get any of that. They're not going to get notice on that or anything. If I try to share something out of that group into the larger thing, you're not going to be able to do that. So you can have the security and intimacy, I guess you could say. You can have the prayer requests. You can have the discussions. You can have the deep questions, or what you may think is a dumb question yourself, but that you find out that other people have that same question. You can have the security of that private group, and that can support the weekly meeting. There's other things that you can do. It can build and extend the intimacy created in the real life gathering. You can do the prayer requests and the updates and things like that, and basically extend the little micro community, or create a micro community that is happening in real life, every Monday night, let's say, but that also can feed the larger community. So you can, because of what you're learning in this private group and in this Bible study, you can then share some of that stuff to the larger. Here's an example. I'm not talking about sharing directly. I'm talking about sharing the knowledge. Okay, so in the men's Bible study, we're talking about how whatever. Okay, just whatever the topic is, being a godly father. Okay, if we're in the private group and we're talking about being a godly father and shepherding your home, and somebody shares something really wise with me, or say somebody shares something in there going, hey, I was a philanderer, I was no good, I was drinking and all this sort of stuff, then God got a hold of me, and then here's how I repaired all the damage in the house. Now, I would not want to share that with the thing. You wouldn't want to take that private story and copy it and paste it and do things. But what you may want to do is take some of the ideas that they share, and that's what you would do in the Bible study. You're sitting there talking with your friends. Then when you go home and your best friend calls you and he's having a problem, you're going to share that information. You're not going to say, hey, Bob was a philanderer, and Bob used to cheat on his wife and used to be drunk 90% of the time and all this. And here's how Bob fixed it. You're not going to go share Bob's story and say, Bob Smith, if there's a Bob Smith out there, I apologize. I'm not trying to slander you. But Bob Smith was a booze, you're not going to do that. What you are going to do is in a one-to-one, you're going to share what you learned out of there. And you're going to say, hey, here's how a friend of mine was able to fix a problem. So you can do that in the group as well. You can extend the little community into the larger community and help feed and grow the larger community by what you're learning you're already doing this in real world. You can also do this online because the potential audience that you can reach, sitting down at lunch, extending into the larger church community with a handful of people is effective with a handful of people, but can be effective with hundreds of people when you're doing it, taking that knowledge and sharing it with the Facebook feed. I feel like I'm rambling. I'm going to try not to ramble. Sorry. Another use of a private Facebook group could be the group leaders group. Small and home group leaders can have private Facebook group for themselves where they can equip each other, where they can encourage, where they can share what's working and what's not. It's kind of like in my home church, not the one here, but the one I grew up in. My grandmother was like the head of the Sunday school department. So she would have meetings just with the other Sunday school teachers, and she would do, where she was teaching them the curriculum and they were doing, then they would go out and teach. But it was also where she could encourage and equip and find out how things are going in each of those individual classes. You can do that. You can have a private Facebook group that is just the home group leaders, because the home group leaders have certain responsibilities and certain, they're shepherds of very small flocks. Sometimes they're just a facilitator who is just sort of guiding the conversation. But in a lot of cases, you're meeting in this one family's home once a week, and they are the ones that are leading this group for this time period. And it could be a long time, it could be a short time, but they're basically the shepherds of a very small flock, and they need the support and encouragement and equipping. How to handle this situation, how to diffuse the situation, or how to properly counsel this family that's in the group and stuff. And they can get that from each other. And because of the logistics, in some cases, when you have a large church or you have a church in a large metropolitan area, for example, I'm here in Arlington, Texas. We've got Arlington alone is like 250 or 300,000 people, and it's spread out over, miles and miles and miles and miles. And we've got people that live 2 towns over that come here. We got people that live up in like up close to Denton that come to our church. We've got people that live out in Weatherford, which is like 45 minutes away. So saying, hey, show up on Saturday for this thing, that they may take a day, their entire day is driving, going to the meeting, and their afternoon's gone, So having a group where they can facilitate some of this stuff, where they don't have to physically be present, fantastic idea. Group teaching. I was just talking about that. Group teaching. Churches that have unified Bible study curriculum, they can do the virtual teaching. They can use things like Zoom.us or Google Hangouts or, a Skype conference call, or, there's a whole bunch of different services. But the teachers, the head teacher can teach the other teachers. They can have the discussions. They can then basically connect physically when they can't connect physically, they can connect over the virtual environment, right? And then these sessions can be recorded and then shared in a private Teach the Teacher group, right? So it's interesting. You can, and I've seen this. I've seen this in a whole bunch of different types of settings where people are having a meeting, and 3 people can't show up. It's like 10 people are supposed to be there every week, but 3 of them can't show up. So what they do is they take a laptop and they start a Zoom conference or do a Google Hangout where the other 3 people are there remotely, participating in the group. So you can do stuff like that. Then you can record all that for the people to come back and view later to get more information on, or if someone couldn't show up at all, the group can have the recording published in the group. They can then get everything they need to, and then ask questions in the group and all, and it's all in a private setting. That was Facebook groups. So we're changing subjects now. Facebook last week came out and said, hey, we're doing something called Facebook Watch. Now, I've known about this for a little while through some insiders and other colleagues and stuff. And if you've been following Facebook, you've been seeing the kind of the handwriting on the wall, as it were, that they are making a big push towards video being a dominant part of their platform. Okay, so much so that they are creating what is called Facebook Watch, which is it's going to be a tab on your in your Facebook, and just like you have photos, videos, live, all that kind of stuff, there will be a tab in your profile called Watch. When you get there, you will be able to see content that is created, in some cases, exclusively for Facebook. In other cases, it's content from other creators. Now, one of the things that Facebook is doing, first off, like with anything that Facebook does, it's going to be rolled out in small batches. According to what we understand right now, because this is starting to roll out, it's not, like I said, not completely rolled out, but they have exclusive content from Facebook partners, okay? Think about that as YouTube partners back early in the day. Facebook's going to do ad revenue split between them, 55 to 45. So the creator's going to get 55%. Facebook's going to keep 45% of the ad revenue. And basically, what they're hoping for is exclusive content, original programming that you can only see on Facebook, which is going to increase views to the newsfeed. That's what their goal is. So a friend of mine is doing his show exclusive. He has stopped publishing to YouTube and is doing it exclusively on Facebook, so that he can have all the eyes that view his content have to come to Facebook in order to see it. Now, Facebook creating the Watch app and page will have a much better experience viewing it, much like a YouTube type experience, which is pretty cool. The partner thing, that's something that YouTube did a number of years ago. Like, man, back in my GeekBeat days, we were like early in the partner thing with them. YouTube did, like, I want to say they granted like close to $100 million, I think, to YouTubers and to creators, YouTube creators that were coming up with great content. They set up a studio for them. They set up ad revenue with them. I mean, just this whole thing, right? Some of them really took off and flourished. Others kind of, went away. So Facebook's doing that with some of the partners. What does this mean for churches on a whole? Well, one of the things, and this kind of works on both sides, is that the Watch app is going to have personalized recommendations, right? So, and they're going to have recommendations like what is most being talked about, what's making people laugh right now, what shows your friends are watching, and based on the algorithm, based on the criteria, you'll get stuff like that. So, if a whole bunch of your friends are watching, an episode of Mike Rowe's show, then it'll say, "Hey, everybody's watching Mike Rowe's show. Do you want to watch it too?" Yeah, let's watch it. And then tomorrow, if it's not his show, if it's Jay Leno's Garage, then you're like, "Hey, yeah, everybody's watching Jay Leno's Garage," or everybody's laughing at this one show right now. Everybody's loving it. It's going crazy. Do you want to see it too? That sort of stuff. Okay. Now, what's this mean for churches? I think it's just a bigger opportunity for us as publishers on the platform. Okay. It means the chance for more visibility, I think, more than anything. I've been saying that your goal for sharing your media and for live streaming and getting that content out there should be twofold. To feed the current flock that you have, okay, extending their ability to participate in the worship service or participate in the Bible study. And then also as a marketing tool to bring other people in, right? And then also, I guess maybe threefold. Also, to develop new members, new engagements with people who may not physically be there, okay? We live in an extremely connected world. We live in a world where things are different. You got people that, they go to work at 6 p.m. on Saturday night and don't get off until noon the next day or what have you. and not be able to necessarily be at your church service, or they go in, as your service is starting, and they can't be there. They can't be at your service or anybody else's service. Maybe if your church has a Saturday night service, or there's some other denomination has a Saturday night service, they may go to that one and stuff. But if they can participate online, you can have virtual church. You can have a virtual membership to your church, basically. So again, Facebook staking its claim in delivering video content like YouTube, okay, like some of these other services that are out there, video platforms that are out there. They are providing more outlet for you to get your message out and to build community, to build viewership, to build interaction, and for us ultimately to change people's lives, because that should be all we're about, right? Is making disciples, changing people's lives, helping them to encounter Christ. This is another venue to do that. What's cool is that publishers, that's us, will be able to share the shows to the newsfeed. So not only in the app, which will be a separate app, kind of like the Facebook Pages app. If you manage your church's or your business's page on Facebook, you don't do it from within the Facebook app. You do it from the Facebook Pages app, right? Well, that would be the Facebook Watch app, so that you can publish your content, manage your content, organize your content that you're creating and everything. People can view that content in there, but then you can also share it over to the official Facebook timeline, which is going to increase the ability of people to see it. You can also subscribe to updates for new episodes, which is really cool. So much like I would subscribe to Mike Rowe's show and get a notification, Mike Rowe has a new show, new episode is out. You can do that with your church, right? So you'd be like, hey, I like Greg Laurie, so Harvest Ministries. Harvest Ministries has a new thing. I get that on YouTube already because I subscribe to Greg Laurie's Harvest YouTube channel. So Sunday morning, it's awesome. Sunday morning, while I am streaming our service and we're getting our service started at our church, there's a pa-ding on my phone, and I'm like, what's this? And it's like, Greg Laurie is live now. It's like, okay, save for later. So you'll be able to do that with the Facebook thing, just like with YouTube. And the shows themselves can connect with groups for more interaction, so that you can have groups based around the show, pages based around the show, and the creators and the people involved in the show can interact with the fans and all that sort of stuff. A Facebook spokesperson said, "We want any publisher or creator who is interested to be able to create a show in the future." So there's going to be hundreds of shows at launch. Hopefully, they'll scale everything up to thousands of shows, which means over time, it should be opening up to everybody. So like right now, you can already create anything you want, on your Facebook page. You're already streaming to it. You're already creating the content. You're already creating the show. You're already interacting with people. Access to publish in the app will be rolling out, just like the app itself is rolling out over time. Access to publish to it should eventually be opened up to all of us, just like with YouTube. So that's encouraging. Churches can have their live and recorded services get more focus simply because it's new. Remember, I was talking about staking your claim now while it's early. The sooner you can get into it, just by virtue of being early content on the platform, you should be able to get some more exposure. You can start treating your stream and your recordings more like a proper TV style or radio style show. I've talked about this a little bit in the past, like with your podcast, and I'm actually developing some training and all this, and I'll speak to it, as we move forward. You can just publish your church service as is, right? Or say, I always talk about having two versions, right? The full and then just the sermon. If you do just the sermon, if you can actually treat it like the sermons you hear on your Christian radio station. Man, I'm losing my voice today. You can treat it like you do, like the radio station does, where they have an announcer that introduces the topic and then talks about, last week, Pastor Rick was talking about this week we're continuing, because they do it weekly or daily or whatever. You can do that, right? You can do the same thing with the video version. Treat it more like a proper television show and get it out there. There's no reason why my pastor, Jared, right, can't basically be like Charles Stanley, or Joel Osteen. Of course, he's got, a huge thing from production quality, right? Even on a small scale. It's not going to be all the glitz and glamour and all that sort of stuff. But, those guys are doing it with large media budgets and large supporter bases and all that. But, you can do the exact same thing with your church. There's nothing. You're a nonprofit organization, so the stream, the video, the podcast can be an arm of that ministry that has people that are donating even, to it. It can be seen as a separate ministry. It can be seen an extension of the ministry. It can be seen as a show that the ministry publishes, right? So the ministry is doing everything live on Sunday and all that, but then it's creating this content and putting this content. Anyway, I don't want to ramble on that, but good Lord, the things that you can do. The net result, though, is that it creates a better experience for the user. And look, Facebook is committed to video being a large part of their platform. So churches should focus not only on the podcast that they're doing and YouTube, but also Facebook for the delivery. And I caution you, don't use Facebook as the only delivery. Okay? Just remember that. There are communities and people in all things. It would be like saying, I'm only going to, if you're going to use your church's website as the only place you deliver the content, that'd be like saying, I'm only going to share Christ with people at church. I'm only going to witness at church, right? When I go to Walmart, I'm not going to share Christ. I'm not going to hand out a tract. I'm not going to tell people about, I'm not going to say, God bless you. I'm only going to do it at the church. So you're going to come to the church website, and you can see our stuff, okay? Or saying, I'm only going to publish to Facebook. I'm not going to publish on the church's website. I'm only going to publish on Facebook. Would be like saying, I'm only going to minister to people when I go to Walmart. I'm not going to minister to people at church. I'm not going to minister to people at Kroger, only when I go to Walmart. Okay? So think about that. Each of these places, there are people that listen to podcasts. So put your stuff out in podcast form that they can subscribe to on iTunes and Stitcher and whatever else, Google Play. Same thing with YouTube. Now, be sure that you're having a concentrated focus as well on Facebook. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Again, if you are looking to live stream, go to easylivestreaming.com and you'll get some tips on how to do that. You will get a free guide that will show you some ideas and show you how you can add live streaming to your ministry right now. Not just your service, but incorporate live streaming into your day-to-day ministry, which is pretty cool. Thank you guys so much for watching. Love you all. We'll see you again next week. Be sure to go to churchtrainingacademy.com and check out all the stuff that's going on there. Thank you guys so much. Have a great week.